So I just want to record something quickly to talk about the fucking bullshit that was Destiny 2's The Veil shaders. So very recently we got Ripping Tool back, Charm for Destiny 2 and Lightfall. So there was a bunch of stuff which needed to get done. The Veil was one of them, and I self-elected myself to do the shaders. This took about 3 years off my life doing it. Let's zoom in, shall we? Quick overview, and I'll do a quick zoom in on everything, showing all the different parts, like little shader bits that I fucking replicated, okay? So let's start here up at the top. The most obvious bit is this. There are a bunch of different meshes here. There is two for these scrolling little particle bits. This uses a granite texture to get the particles. Really strange. And the big particles have a different version of the granite texture scrolling up through it, making some of it disappear. You may see it if you look around. Yeah, like here, there's some like dipping in and out. Yeah, see? And there's another one which is scaled up higher, which moves a bit slower. And then there's two of these objects, a blue one and a red one. These each are just a texture, two textures. No, sorry, the one texture, which is then scrolled along the UV, and then the same texture is also scaled and then scrolled along the UV the opposite way, and is used as a subtract, which is what this wave is here. This like how it dips in and out. So you do that for the blue one and the red one, and all good. Then there's this uh, purple Oh, can I select it? Oh, come on, let me select it. There it is, this one. This object. This object isn't 100% game accurate because the rainbow like texture I don't think is even used in game, and I think it's actually a fog effect. But because I didn't want to do that, I did this, and I think it looks close enough. Looks good. This object caused me a huge headache because I couldn't figure out how this effect, where it changes based on its perspective, was done, even though I knew which node it was in the end, and I just didn't end up trying it because I'm a fucking retard, and I had someone else to tell me how to do it. Um, so basically, it was just a layer weight node. I'm so mad. It was just a layer weight node. And then like it's just in a gradient texture. Just remove the top and bottom of the gradient texture. It's scaled. It's fucking easy. Yeah. So I don't know. I was fucking retard. But that's just that. That's just the top. There's a lot more to go. So uh, the main bit top of the shell is made up of two layers. We have this outer layer, which, as you can see, is this glow effect and this kind of parallaxed line effect, which I'll show in a sec. So the underneath layer, let's just hide this one for a sec. Nope. Ah, come on, come back. There we go. Come back. So this one, pretty easy. It's just two normal textures, using a effects texture to swap between them. So that effects texture just scrolls and rotates, and that gives it this organic kind of changing look. You can see it slowly changing. Yeah, when it snaps back to the beginning, you'll see it. Um, and then it's just a gradient texture scaled using one of the colors. Again, can't colors always have to be kind of guessed, but we have the gradient texture, so I just used one of the colors from that. Could just scaled it. Um, so there's not much to say about this one. Like, there's not even that many textures. Yeah. But this is the hard part. So this, uh, the dots, it uses the same granite texture scaled, except this one doesn't move. But instead we use the camera texture coordinate and we tie that to a gradient texture, which is how we get the colors to change in a ring, as you can see, in a ring based on distance from the object. So I think that turned out pretty well, and that's just an emission. And then we have these, I'm going to keep going around. You can kind of see them, this parallax line effect, where the line is a few different bands of color. You can see it here. It's very faint in game, and actually I'm not entirely sure if it's parallaxed, but I think it looks good parallaxed, so I kept it that way. Um, so yeah, it's basically just a gradient texture. Look, I can't even like remember how it was done, but it's basically just a texture color ramped in, and that's put into a mapping node. And then that mapping node is put into a gradient texture, and then that gradient texture is put on. No. So the mapping node on the original texture, that texture gets color ramped, then that gets put into a mapping node, then that mapping node gets plugged into the gradient texture, and then we just get scale and move the gradient texture until it's the right colors, and we're good. So I think it turned out pretty well. I should maybe have tied it to like a very slight amount of emission, but I feel like it looks good enough without it being a very slight emission, so I don't really mind. Uh, that's the top bulb. So many parts, just the top bit. Just AIDS. Kill me. This is just a glow effect. It's literally just a circle with a white glow. It doesn't even have it. Like even the actual, even the actual material doesn't have any textures. So yeah, just white glow. Now the bottom bit actually had a second mesh. The second mesh only had a flow map, and I have no idea what it was used for. No idea. I think it was used for one of the effects that I recreated in another way anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Uh, but yeah. So let's go from top to bottom. So this piece was a lot of fucking shit. Actually, let's start at the bottom. So this bottom bit, it's two textures combined, and then we use that as an alpha. But we also use a color ramp into a mapping node into a color ramp, and that's what gives us this gradient where like it stops at the bottom. Let's see if I can scroll up and down. See? Where it kind of fades in and out. And that's just set to alpha clip, and like how it gets like there's more holes at the bottom. That's just done with a color ramp and some math. Uh, but yeah, and then there's some other color ramps which are used to. So we have this pink and blue color here, which is using the same technique that the lines on this were using, but this one has the color moving instead of being stationary, and it's also a different texture. Um, and the colors on this are just estimated because I couldn't get the actual textures, the actual colors from the gradient. I couldn't get them to be exact, or use the gradient in the correct way, I should say. So I just kind of made it close enough. Then we use another gradient texture for how far up this emission of this turquoise and pink goes. Because see, it doesn't go all the way up. It only goes to about here. And if I make the thing that it go further up, you'll see that it comes further up. And if I push it down, it goes away, as you can see. So that was most of it down here. Like I'm skipping over some things as well. And then there's another emission, this purple stuff, which is very faint on the model. It's very faint. I color grammed it so there's none at the top. It starts about here-ish and goes all the way down, but doesn't go to the bottom. It cuts off the bottom, so it's only in this middle part. You can see it scrolls and it changes. It moves this way, rotates. Yeah, it's very faint emission. And then this part also has the same changing normals as the top part has. It's actually the same two textures as well. Um, and the colors are the same way. It's just a gradient texture scaled. Um, and then moved until it's the close enough color. And then from there it was simply lighting, um, lighting it up, and uploading it. Um, so this took about 4 days. Like, this shit fucking sucked. Like, for real. I'm very proud of how it turned out, and I hope to see some people using it at some point. But, um, the veil, you don't get very close to the veil in game, and it's obscured by a layer of fog. Um, so trying to get good angles on all the effects, was very hard. And also, like some things, like I didn't even realize until the second day that that granite texture was used to make these small particles. I didn't even realize there were small particles until I went back to the veil and looked and got some better footage. Um, and it's still not perfect. I mean, especially the top part, all this part down here is basically like game accurate. Some scaling and colors may be off, but honestly, the effects of the roots are probably not perfect, but they're close enough to the game. The part that I'm least happy with is this top part. Uh, the red bit I actually really like. I think it turned out really well, and I think I replicated the effect extremely accurately to how it looks in the game. This middle part, even though it gave me a headache, I think actually turned out extremely close to how it is in game. And so did these rainbow particles. The bits that didn't are this blue one and the purple one. Now, obviously, the purple one, as I already said, excuse me. Come on, let me select it. There it is. Yeah. So this is just set to alpha blend. It's a it's an emission, and literally, it's just. Let me get this out. Yeah, Spazero confuses me. So all it is just using the color, the object alpha, the vertex alpha, as the object alpha, and then we simply use a purple emission, use a scaled and moving version of another texture to give it some slight emission variation. You can kind of see it if you look closely. And then we simply just use the rainbow texture as the base. That's it. Because that's close I can get to recreating it. Because it only comes with three textures. One of which is a gradient texture, and the thing is it doesn't change in game. I think it is used to select the purple color, but I couldn't get that purple color out of the gradient, so I don't know. I don't know how it works. Um, and the blue one, the blue effect. This is the least accurate part of the entire thing. It's not accurate at all. The middle part is pretty accurate. Uh, but these outer bits are not. They're not accurate in game at all. I tried for multiple hours to replicate the in-game effect. Uh, because the actual texture I ended up not using, which I think is how it was recreated. And like literally don't mind the fucking mess of nodes sitting around and like things that aren't being used. I just don't give a shit. I couldn't bother to clean it up. But yeah, it's not in game. It's not accurate in game at all. Like, it just fucking looks like shit. Yeah, I hate looking at it. It's gonna bug me forever. No one's gonna care because you don't like get a good look at the Veil in game anyway. But it annoys me. But yeah, that's what took fucking 4 days off my life. Sorry, 3 years off my life, and it took 4 days. I had left a bunch of drivers sitting around, deliberately actually. So like this one, for example, this one has a driver which makes the routes go slowly up and down, which is neat. I have ones for the top rings which make it rainbow. So this scrolls through the gradient texture instead of sitting on one color. There's one for the blue and there's one for the red objects. Uh, and I think there's maybe like one or two others sitting around, but I can't really remember what they do. Yeah, I don't know. It was this one. Sorry. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, make it pulse like this instead of how it is. It just looks fine. Yeah, looks fine. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. There's a lot more work I could do on this thing. I could fiddle with it for a very much longer time if I really, really wanted to. But this is as accurate as anyone will need it to be for any project. Uh, the goal after this is to finish the veil containment area that's in the game. I already have it ripped, but I took the veil out of it to finish that first before 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 working on the rest of veil containment. Because veil containment as the map kind of extracts a bit weirdly, so I haven't started any work on that, but I am going to at some point. But yeah, that's about it. Um, I also left a note in it for anyone who wants to read. Gonna leave a note here if anyone uses this. As I said, the shaders are not perfect. I can always fiddle with them forever. They're about as close as I can get. I also know that the shaders aren't the most efficient. They are not. There are used a lot of fucking color ramps. I love the color ramp node, but it is inefficient as all hell. Uh, so, oops. If I knew properly how the math and clamp nodes could be used in that way, I probably would have, but I don't. So color ramps will suffice. But yeah, I'm happy with how it came out, and I hope people enjoy using it because I did not enjoy doing it. Um, Final note, mad props to the artists at Bungie, who designed this piece of shit because it is actually pretty beautiful to look at, all things considered. Even if it isn't fully accurate to the concept art. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoys using this. Um, yeah, I don't know really why I recorded this. But yeah. Oh god. Still can't believe this thing has a more complete model than the Traveler does. Strange.